Did you know that Johnny Depp once said he feels more like a painter than an actor? Sounds surprising, right? We all know him for his legendary roles, Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, the Mad Hatter. But behind all the glam and chaos of Hollywood, there's a quiet, introspective artist who's been painting long before he ever stepped in front of a camera. His true essence might just be hidden, not on screen, but on canvas. Hey, welcome. If you've ever felt like there's a side of you the world just doesn't see, like your real passion gets buried under layers of responsibility or what's expected of you, you're not alone. Johnny Depp understands that better than most. Beneath the headlines, the controversies, and the iconic characters, there's a man who's always communicated through images and emotion far more than through words or scripts. And in this video, we're diving into that hidden world of art, that secret space where he tells his real story. It's a space that's raw, intensely personal, and sometimes even painful. By the end of this journey, you might find that his paintings aren't just beautiful. They're confessions, reflections, and sometimes silent screams. Stick around because this will change how you see him forever. Before the movie sets, before the multi-million-dollar paychecks, before the awards and the heartbreaks, there was just Johnny and his sketchpad. Art wasn't some post-fame curiosity or a vanity project. It was the foundation. Growing up in Owensboro, Kentucky, in a modest home with little in the way of luxury, young Johnny wasn't dreaming of Oscars. He was drawing. He was doodling faces, emotions, expressions that no one else could see but that he felt deeply. It was his way of understanding the world, a private language he developed to cope with confusion, with anger, with loneliness. Acting came later, and not even by design. Depp has often said that becoming an actor wasn't a lifelong ambition. It was more a series of coincidences that led him onto the big screen. But painting? That was chosen. That was sacred. It makes sense then that painting remained his anchor throughout his life. Whenever the chaos of fame spun out of control, he turned inward. And inside, he painted. His early works were never meant to be seen by the world. They were personal, intimate, more like visual diaries than anything else. It's almost ironic that a man known globally for playing loud, eccentric characters would feel most at home in silence, surrounded by canvas and paint, letting colors speak the truths he couldn't say aloud. His artistic style is hard to pin, down to just one school or genre. There are echoes of pop art in the boldness of color, hints of neo-expressionism in the emotion-laden strokes, and something entirely unique in how each piece seems to carry a piece of his past. Some art critics have compared him to Basquiat for his fearless use of visual language, others to Francis Bacon for the emotional violence some of his works radiate. But ultimately, Depp's art defies tidy categories. It's too messy, too human, too vulnerable to be boxed in. What stands out immediately are the portraits. Raw, intimate, piercing. These aren't just paintings of people he admires. They're reflections of emotional bonds, each one layered with personal history. Bob Dylan isn't just a musical legend in Depp's world. He's a muse, a spiritual guide of sorts. Keith Richards isn't merely the rock icon who inspired Captain Jack Sparrow. He's a father figure, a symbol of rebellion and endurance. Heath Ledger's portrait, for example, is more than a tribute. It's a lament, a sorrowful meditation on brilliance lost too soon. Each of these faces tells a story, not only of who the subject is, but who Johnny was when he painted them. And when he paints, it's not a casual pastime. It's an immersion. Depp has described locking himself away in his studio for days, at a time painting obsessively, barely eating or speaking to anyone. Especially during difficult periods, during the legal battles with Amber Heard, during moments of public backlash, or in the aftermath of personal betrayal, he used painting not just as therapy, but as a necessity. His brushstrokes aren't always clean or calculated. Sometimes they're frenzied, wild, and unfiltered. They mirror his state of mind, like a heart monitor for the soul. For Depp, painting isn't about capturing beauty. It's about exercising demons. Each canvas becomes a battleground where he confronts his fears, his regrets, his longing, and his hope. People are often skeptical when celebrities try to cross over into the art world. We've all seen those awkward gallery openings where a famous face tries to reinvent themselves as a serious painter, only to be met with polite applause and quiet cynicism. But Johnny Depp didn't burst into the art scene with a press campaign or an Instagram live. He kept his paintings hidden for years. Friends who visited his home saw them, family members, a few close collaborators, but for a long time, the world didn't even know this side of him existed. That's what makes his story different. This wasn't about attention or reinvention. It was about survival. It was about sanity. When he finally did share his work, the response was overwhelming. His debut collection, titled Friends and Heroes, featured portraits of cultural icons who deeply influenced him. The collection sold out in less than a day, nearly 800 prints gone in just hours, raising over $3.5 million. That kind of reaction isn't about marketing. That's about resonance. People didn't just see celebrities on those canvases. They saw emotion. They saw truth. And in that moment, Johnny Depp wasn't a movie star. He was a fellow human being, reaching out with a paintbrush instead of a microphone. If you want to really experience his art, look into the eyes of the portraits. That's where the weight lies. The eyes in his paintings are hyper-detailed, often more realistic than the rest of the composition. They carry sorrow, wisdom, sometimes even defiance. It's as if he's saying, "This is what they couldn't say in life, so I'm saying it for them." And it's not just the subjects who speak through the canvas. Johnny's soul seeps through those brushstrokes too. He's admitted that he often paints eyes last because they're the hardest. They demand honesty. There's also symbolism everywhere, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice recurring themes. Red is more than a color in Depp's palette. It's a pulse. It usually signals emotional pain, heartache, or vulnerability. In contrast, blues in his work feel like calm, resigned but peaceful. Stormy backgrounds reflect inner chaos. Repeated use of crosses, clocks, and fragmented figures suggest struggles with time, mortality, and fractured identity. Nothing in his work is accidental. It's all coded, personal, deeply felt. Art critics have begun taking Depp's work seriously. Ellie Raines, a well-respected curator, once said, "Depp paints like someone who's seen both beauty and ruin, and still chooses to hope." That's such a powerful statement, because at the heart of his work is this tug-of-war between despair and belief, between cynicism and faith. And isn't that what most of us are wrestling with too? Johnny Depp's studio is far more than just a place where paint meets canvas. It's a refuge, a sanctuary carved out from the chaos of a life spent in the unforgiving spotlight. Nestled in a quiet, somewhat secluded part of town, away from the relentless buzz of Hollywood and the prying eyes of paparazzi, the studio feels like an entirely different universe. The moment he steps through its doors, the frenetic pace of movie sets, interviews, and public appearances simply fades away, replaced by a profound stillness that invites creativity and reflection. Inside, the space is a deliberate mess, but one that speaks volumes about the process that happens within these walls. Canvases lean against every available surface, some stacked in uneven piles, others carefully framed and waiting for their moment. They range in size from small, intimate portraits to sprawling, chaotic abstractions. Each one seems to whisper fragments of stories, moments of joy, pain, confusion, or clarity that Johnny has wrestled with in paint. Around the room, dozens of sketches, some just rough outlines, others painstakingly detailed, are pinned to walls or scattered across tables, their jagged edges and smudged pencil marks revealing a restless energy that never quite settles. Old photographs are tucked into corners, worn and yellowed at the edges, showing faces and places that have deeply influenced him over the years. These are not just memories, they are muses. Whether it's a weathered picture of a musician like Bob Dylan or a candid snapshot of a close friend, these images seem to act as touchstones, grounding him in a personal history that's as rich and complicated as his public persona. They remind him who he is beneath all the layers of fame, and in some way they inform the emotional core of his work. Music plays a constant and vital role in the atmosphere. The sound isn't background noise, it's part of the fabric of the space, almost a collaborator in the creative process. There's always a playlist running, often classic rock legends, like the Rolling Stones or Jimi Hendrix, whose raw energy and rebellious spirit resonate deeply with Johnny's own sensibilities. Sometimes the music drifts into the melancholy blues, where every note seems to carry the weight of unspoken pain. At other times, ambient instrumentals fill the room with ethereal, almost haunting soundscapes, creating a meditative environment that allows thoughts and feelings to flow freely onto the canvas. The studio floor is a chaotic map of the creative journey, splattered and stained with layers of paint in every conceivable color. These paint stains are like footprints of his emotional path, each drip and smear marking moments of frustration, breakthrough, or simple experimentation. Brushes, of every size and shape, stand in jars, their bristles worn and stained, arranged almost like wildflowers gathered in a rustic bouquet. Some are stiff with dried paint, remnants of a long-forgotten session, while others are still moist, ready to be picked up and used again at a moment's notice. Unlike the polished and pristine lofts that many imagine when picturing an artist's, Studio Depp's space is intentionally raw and unrefined. It's not designed to impress visitors or showcase an image of creative glamour. Instead, it functions as what could best be described as a war room, a place where battles are fought. Daily, not with weapons, but with colors, lines, and shapes. Every session is a confrontation with something intangible, a memory, a feeling, a fear, or a hope. It's a place of struggle and surrender, where the only goal is honesty, no matter how messy or painful that truth might be. When Johnny enters, the sanctuary, the outside world, the flashbulbs, the scripts, the deadlines, dissolves completely. The air itself seems to shift, growing heavier with concentration and quiet intensity. It's just him and the blank canvas, staring at each other like old adversaries or close friends, depending on the day. Sometimes the blankness is daunting, a vast expanse of possibility that feels overwhelming. Other times it's comforting, a fresh start, a chance to channel whatever is swirling inside him into something tangible and visible. The process begins not always with a clear plan, but often with instinct, a flicker of color, a bold stroke, a sudden splash that breaks the silence. From there, the painting evolves in fits and starts, guided by emotions rather than logic. It's an intuitive dialogue where Johnny listens as much as he pushes. The brush becomes an extension of his thoughts and feelings, tracing lines that sometimes follow pain, sometimes hope, sometimes rage or tenderness. There are no rules, no right or wrong. The canvas becomes a mirror, reflecting whatever needs to be expressed that day. What's striking is how deeply personal these works are. There's no attempt to create something palatable or marketable. Instead, the paintings reveal raw, vulnerable pieces of his inner life. Some portraits, especially those of people close to him or admired figures, are more than likenesses. They are emotional landscapes, capturing the complexities of love, loss, and admiration. You can almost feel the weight of memories and experiences, embedded in the thick layers of paint, in the way eyes are rendered with such intensity, or how colors clash and collide as if in a silent scream. Depp's paintings often carry an almost tactile sense of urgency. You can see it in the brushstrokes that are applied with a furious passion, or in the chaotic backgrounds that swirl and crackle with tension. These aren't decorative pieces meant to hang quietly on a wall. They're loud declarations, confessions, cries for understanding. Some viewers describe standing in front of one of his canvases and feeling like they're staring into the raw core of a human soul, stripped bare of pretense and artifice. Yet, despite the storm of emotions that fuels the creation, the studio itself provides a sense of calm and safety. It's a sacred space where nothing else matters but the act of creation. In interviews, Johnny has described painting as a form of therapy, a place where he can confront his demons and make peace with them. It's not about fame or recognition here, it's about survival, about finding meaning when the world outside feels incomprehensible or cruel, even when personal turmoil is at its peak. During legal battles, public controversies, or private grief, the studio remains a place of refuge. Instead of retreating into silence or despair, Depp turns to his art, channeling his pain and confusion into something that, while sometimes dark and intense, is also strangely hopeful. The paintings become visual journals, documenting his emotional journey and providing a way to process the chaos of life. And while the space is intensely private, it's also where Johnny connects most authentically with himself. There are no cameras, no scripts, no audience, just the honest, unfiltered experience of making art. It's a reminder that beneath the Hollywood persona lies a complex, sensitive man whose truest form is revealed not on screen, but on canvas. This studio sanctuary, with its paint-streaked floors, scattered brushes, and constant soundtrack, is a testament to the power of art as refuge and expression. It's where Johnny Depp's soul speaks loudest, sometimes shouting, sometimes whispering, and invites those willing to listen into a world few have seen, but one that holds the deepest truths of who he really is. What's beautiful about Johnny's approach is that he's never tried to monetize the emotion. Yes, prints are available for collectors and exhibitions have been held, but there's still something raw and uncommercial about the work itself. Even when it's hanging in a gallery, it feels more like a diary entry than a product, and despite his fame, he seems genuinely moved by people's reactions. He's been known to respond to fan letters about his art, to show up unannounced at small exhibitions, and to donate pieces for charity. There's no wall between the artist and the audience. That vulnerability, so rare in fame, is what makes his work matter. The accessibility is another powerful choice. You don't have to be wealthy or connected to experience his art. Many of his exhibitions are available online with high-resolution images and audio commentary. Limited edition prints are priced so that average fans can afford them. He's even talked about wanting to do a traveling street exhibition, displaying works in outdoor spaces so people can just walk by and feel something. That kind of democratic spirit is rare, especially from someone who could easily retreat behind gallery walls and exclusivity. So let me ask you this. If you could paint one emotion you felt this year, what would it look like? Would it be soft or loud, calm or chaotic? Would it be a self-portrait or something abstract? Would it have bright colors or muted ones? What would you name it? This question isn't just about art. It's about connection, about empathy, about finding a way to communicate what words sometimes can't. Drop your answers in the comments. I'd really love to know. Because just like Johnny uses paint to tell his truth, maybe you've got something inside you that's ready to be shared, too. And who knows, we might feature some of your responses in our next video, because this space is about all of us, about finding meaning in unexpected places. If you found this journey into Johnny Depp's art fascinating, you definitely won't want to miss our upcoming video on the secrets behind his tattoos. Each one tells a story, a piece of heartbreak, a moment of transformation, a vow made in silence. Some of them are way deeper than you think, and trust me, once you know the stories behind the ink, you'll never look at him the same way again. And if this video spoke to you, take a moment. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap that little bell so you never miss a new story from the other side of fame. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the loudest stories aren't shouted, they're painted. See you next time.